This is Rummy's Corner. This past Tuesday, Inoue became the first undisputed world bantamweight champion during the modern four-belt era, and Inoue is just the 9th boxer to earn undisputed status in this era, joining the likes of Devin Haney at 135, Jermell Charlo at 154, Canelo Alvarez at 168, Josh Taylor at 140, Alexander Usyk at cruiserweight, Terence Crawford at 140, Jermaine Taylor at 160, and of course, the godfather of the modern four-belt era, Bernard the Executioner Hopkins, who first earned this unique distinction back in 2004 during his impressive reign at middleweight. So in 17 years or so, Inoue is just the 9th man to achieve this, and in terms of undisputed bantamweight champions, Inoue is the first to do it since way back in the two-belt era, nearly 50 years ago. By the time Inoue made his 118-pound debut in May 2018, he was already a two-division champion, going a perfect 10-0 in championship bouts at 108 and 115, junior and super flyweight. So 2 divisions, 10 championship fight victories, and 9 of those wins came by way of knockout. So very quietly and somewhat under the radar, Inoue had already established a bit of a legacy for himself prior to challenging Jamie McDonnell for the regular WBA belt. Inoue stopped him in the opening round. In October 2018, he defended that trinket when he scored another first-round knockout, this time against Juan Carlos Payano. The win against Payano was part of the bantamweight version of the World Boxing Super Series tournament. In the next round of the tournament, Inoue won the IBF title when he stopped Emmanuel Rodriguez in round 2. And then in the final, Inoue won a 12-round unanimous decision in a highly competitive affair against Nonito Donaire. That was in November 2019, about a year and a half after Inoue made his bantamweight debut. The victory over Donaire earned Inoue the WBA Super Duper belt to go along with his IBF belt, and this is undoubtedly Inoue's career-defining performance to date. We'll get back to this fight. Over the next 2 years, Inoue made 3 defenses of his unified championship, stopping Jason Maloney in round 7, then he knocked out Michael Dasmariñas in round 3, and then in December 2021 he stopped Aaron Dippian. This set the stage for a highly anticipated rematch with Donaire, who had since won the WBC strap, and Inoue stopped his rival about halfway through the second round. With that victory, Inoue was a 3-belt champion, and the only missing piece to becoming undisputed was the WBO belt, which was in the possession of Paul Butler. Inoue remedied that last Tuesday in Japan, when he eventually stopped the reluctant Butler in round 11. That victory earned him the 4th and final belt needed to achieve undisputed supremacy at 118. It's a solid accomplishment for the monster. The victory against Butler itself isn't especially impressive, as Inoue was a huge favorite going in. Personally, I don't know anyone who was giving Butler a chance going into this one, but this victory represented the culmination of his journey throughout the bantamweight landscape, where he went a perfect 9-0, winning 8 of those 9 fights by knockout, and he earned the alphabet belts one by one to obtain undisputed supremacy. After beating Butler, Inoue has indicated he's planning to move up to 122, which may seemingly close the book on his career as a bantamweight. And personally, I believe he has carved out a very nice legacy for himself, both in terms of bantamweight history, but also in terms of his entire career, where the undefeated monster remains one of the most powerful and explosive champions in all of boxing. Now, I'm not exactly saying that I believe Inoue is on par with someone like the great Eddie Geoffrey, who is widely considered the greatest bantamweight of all time. But what I am saying is that there is a legacy here for Inoue at bantamweight, and it's an impressive one. In terms of what he has accomplished as a bantamweight, the two biggest criticisms against him are, number one, his level of competition wasn't the greatest, and number two, he struggled with an old past prime version of Donaire. As far as his level of competition goes, it isn't as if Inoue had to go through a bunch of all-time elite bantamweights. His toughest foe was undoubtedly Donaire, and it's true Donaire was certainly older and past his best. But at the end of the day, we can only judge a fighter by what he does in his own era. And since making his bantamweight debut 4.5 years ago, Inoue has proven his superiority against the best 118-pound fighters in the world over that stretch. In the end, that's all we can ask of any champion. That first fight with Donaire provided a field day for those who aren't as sold on Inoue. The basic argument goes that he went life and death with an old Donaire, and that a prime Donaire would have been a different story entirely. Perhaps that is true. Maybe so, maybe not. But regardless, Donaire was still formidable at that time, especially at 118 where he had never lost a championship fight, or any fight. Donaire's later career losses had all happened at 122 and 126, and when he dropped back down to 118, he proved he was still a force to be reckoned with. Many fans are critical of that performance in the first Donaire fight, but I have a different view on that. I was mighty impressed by what Inoue showed in that one, where he displayed a great deal of heart and courage, and he persevered and overcame adversity against a seasoned all-time great in Donaire. Nonito is a champion who, despite being older and past his physical prime, had a great ring IQ, and I believe he was an older champion whose wisdom and experience served him well. At the end of the day, Inoue proved more in winning that type of fight against Donaire in their first encounter than would have been the case had he done what he did in their rematch the first time around. And of course, Inoue making quick work of his former foe in the rematch says a lot about him too. But the dramatic ebb and flow in that first fight with Donaire is something I view as a positive for Inoue. If Inoue didn't have that special something inside him that allows great champions to overcome adversity, then Nonito Donaire would have been the winner in the World Boxing Super Series. But Inoue's championship medal was on full display, and he emerged victorious in the Ring Magazine 2019 Fight of the Year. I said earlier that I'm not prepared to put Inoue on par with Eder Geoffrey, and I'm most certainly not. But that being said, Inoue had a very good run during his stint at 118, and he appears to have the attributes and style needed that I reckon he could have been competitive against any bantamweight in history, Geoffrey included. Inoue is a pretty complete boxer for his style. He has excellent footwork, a tremendous understanding of range and distance and angles. He has an impeccable sense of timing. He is defensively sound as far as offensively minded boxers go. And he has devastating power that he can deliver with both hands upstairs and down. But forgetting hypothetical fantasy matchups against the greatest bantamweights throughout boxing history, in terms of what he has done in his own era, all I can say is Inoue has done basically everything that could have reasonably been asked of him at 118. Whether or not that ultimately lands him a spot among the greatest bantamweights of all time is ultimately something for future boxing historians to frame in a proper perspective. But one thing cannot be denied. Inoue has proven himself as the best bantamweight in the world in this era. And that's all we can ask of any champion from any era. In the meantime, I look forward to seeing what Inoue's considerable talents have to offer up at 122. So what do you think about Inoue's legacy at bantamweight? Please share your thoughts in the comments section. Thank you very much for watching, everyone. I hope you enjoyed, and have a wonderful night. This is Rummy's Corner.